Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Search Podcast. This week, I have a special guest with me, Andrew MacAskill, who I've seen on LinkedIn every week, every day. His personal branding is absolutely incredible, but I want to learn more, about what you do, Andrew. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Elliot. It's good to be here. Sorry, I've been stinking up your feed. Apologies for that. As you said, I'm Andrew MacAskill. I'm the founder of a business called Executive Career Jump. I'm from very proud recruitment and executive search roots.
Yep.
But in the last sort of year or two, I've pivoted a little bit into running a business that helps people find jobs. So we
Brilliant.
provide job search coaching for leaders, and that's my world.
Fantastic. Fine. We'll come back to that shortly, but I'm just really interested, Andrew, to find out, you've been in recruitment before. You've had an extensive background in it. I've checked it all out, some phenomenal businesses you've worked with and obviously run yourself, both over here and over in Oz.
Yeah, that's right.
But how did this all come about? The background in recruitment to noticing that this is a gap in the market for you to work in.
Yeah. So my last sort of permanent leadership role was as MD of a business called Executives Online, and as a result of that, we got to about 85 people in 5 countries, and we were helping SMEs find board level people, right?
Yeah.
And so I was spending a load of time talking to people who were hitting the market for the first time and just finding that the job search world had completely changed.
Yep.
So there was the whole LinkedIn paradigm and how the hell do you navigate that? A lot of them had kind of outgrown their networks as well. You get to a certain level and all of a sudden you can't just phone your ex-bosses and get a job, right? There's this whole networking piece that comes into it. And they were also finding that a lot of the best senior jobs weren't advertised and happened behind the scenes and all of this. So just in my spare time, really, to be honest, I just started coaching people on helping them navigate all of that. And over time decided to set a business up.
No, do you know what? Like, there's so many opportunities that the headhunters will dabble with and work with behind, as you said, behind closed doors, and the executives out there who want those jobs. Sometimes, they just don't know how to go and get them. And ultimately, that's, I suppose, where your skills come in handy for them. But I think from a background in recruitment, did you always do the executive search side? Was that always something that you covered, or?
No, not at all. I started off doing placing temporary people into warehouses. Counterbalance and reach licenses as it was at the time. So real grounds up kind of £6, £7, £8 an hour type stuff. And then worked in procurement and supply chain recruitment for the best part of 10 years before we ended up in the exec side. So yeah, I've done all levels, and there's definitely pros and cons to each levels. Like there's a lot of snobbery around the executive search and what level you work at. But some of the best consultants I ever worked with were on those fast-paced temp desks in the early days. And so many of them have actually gone on to become, business leaders and things because that pace and that hustle that they bring to the table.
Fine. Did you find it a difficult transition to going from, a fast-paced temps desk to an exec search realm of recruitment, which does have that reputation?
You do, yeah. You miss that shot to the arm, Elliot. That instant gratification of doing lots of deals. So there's a pace element, but also the way that people buy services at an executive search level, your sales skills is totally different to selling at a more junior level. So you've got to learn far more kind of professional services style selling rather than traditional recruitment style selling, I would say. So big learning curve, plenty of screw ups, plenty of failures in the early days, that's for sure. And you just evolve as you go.
Also, I don't want to go too much into this, but I'm really curious, just from speaking to other recruiters, did you find it difficult, challenging being in the Australian market of recruitment as it is to being in the UK market?
Yes, definitely. It was an ego correcting experience, I would say. Like I went out there thinking quite a lot of myself, and in the first 6 months, got found out, really, let's be honest, in terms of how hard it was getting traction locally. I was in Melbourne, which is a very network driven place, as I'm sure you know. It's very, very tight networks. And so trying to break down those doors and assuming the same thing that worked for you in London or worked for you in Melbourne was a big learning. I actually found a really good option for people if you land in a new territory or a new market and you're going out from the UK. It's obvious, but you don't necessarily think about it at the time, but it's just to find clients who are from the UK as well.
Yeah.
So what I did probably 4 or 5 months in was I ran a search on people that were from Hampshire, where I grew up, or ran a search from people who spent time in London or whatever it might be. And then rather than try and sell to them, I just dropped them a note and asked them for some advice. And I found there's like this unwritten expat code that when we're overseas, we look after each other a little bit more than we do when we're living side by side. So that was how I managed to finally break through. In the end, I spoke to a lot of the other POMs who are out in Oz, basically.
Yeah, I found this with the States as well. It's very similar in a sense. And before I opened an office in New York, I spent about a year or so trying to build a network through businesses that I was aware of that, I could relate to, who are British, that are most cases, from London, like myself, or from Essex, and someone that I can actually build a relationship with a lot quicker, a lot easier. And then from there, it just kind of, flows, I suppose, in terms of everything else kinds of come together. But true, most people don't think of it that way. So moving all the side of the background, the side to it, I'm really, really keen to find out more about what you do now. I know you're, invested in other businesses and, and helping other companies, and, which, we feel free to share the information about, but it's more just about kind of the role that you have now with helping executives, and especially with this year, with this, crazy year what we've had, how it's been for you.
Well, it's been, we've been very lucky with the timing in many respects, to think that we kind of went all in on this mission in December. So we're coming up for our first full year of been working on it. And when we started the business, there was 3.8% unemployment. And now we're up way, into the late 4 point something. And that's probably underestimated, frankly, based on the real situation, right? So we timed it. We got very lucky with the timing of launching a business in this space at that time. But it's been an incredible learning. I think people generally are way better at helping other people than they are themselves.
Yeah.
That's been one thing that we've seen throughout. So you get these like senior people and recruiters. I talk to some recruitment directors, people like yourself, people who've ran businesses who are super proactive, really commercial people. And then they get on the job market and it's almost like they've got a bit of a brain fog around what they should be doing. And they sit back and they apply for roles and they hope, rather than what we're trying to do is help them get real clarity around a go-to-market strategy. So we're helping them in a multi-channel way. We've got an online platform with 30 videos, loads of different templates, downloads, all of that kind of thing. And we're trying to get them to use social media, their networks, actually map out a Dream 20 employer list and get after them. Yeah. It's a really proactive commercial exercise rather than just applying for jobs.
Yeah. Do you know what? There's a lot of recruiters, and this is obviously the example that I could use, being in my market, but that help obviously people get jobs at whatever level it may well be in whatever industry. However, that they get to a point where, you say to them, do you need some help? No, I know what I'm doing. It's fine. I've been doing this for long enough. I'll figure it out. It's easy. They get stuck so quickly that they think that it's just a very simple sort of process. But it's sometimes not, depending on the hierarchy and the level that you're trying to achieve, and the businesses that you want to work for, get some help, use people like us, yourself. We can only guide you in the right direction. It's in our benefit as well. But if everyone's, put it this way, the way I look at it is that if someone isn't using your services, and that person who is using your services, they're going to get the upper hand. They're going to have the upper hand because they've got your guidance, your direction to get around those people that aren't using it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. It's an edge, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's an edge, is what a lot of people need.
Absolutely, particularly at interview. Like I always used to amaze me when I was interviewing recruitment people who'd come directly at us, how undercooked they were from an interview perspective, how maybe their CVs weren't up to scratch. And if you haven't got good people around you advising you about that type of stuff and helping guide you through those kind of things, it's easy to get lost. I say most people are better at helping other people than they are themselves. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Definitely. So I'm take for an example, I'm a director. I've sold my business. I'm in a position now where not sure what I want to do. I'm going to start looking on job boards and applying for some jobs here and there, speaking to some old connections as you do, but I'm not getting anywhere. Can you just, if you don't mind, explain, I've called you up, Andrew, I need your help. How does the process work? What do you, apart from obviously, identifying the 20 businesses, etc., is there a way to it that you guys, I suppose, help others?
Yeah. So first of all, obviously, we want to get clarity on what we're trying to attract in. Yeah. And this is almost, it's like any other marketing exercise, Elliot, right? So you need to have like a buyer persona who would be your next boss.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we actually name them. We'll say, okay, well, they're going to be called CEO Sam. Yeah. So it could be a male or female, don't really matter, but they're going to be out there running a recruitment business of this kind of size with these kind of problems. So as soon as people hit the market, the first thing we help them through is identifying what they want, why they want it, bit of discovery work, and then actually naming their next boss. And that next boss becomes somebody that they write to, that they talk to, that they post content towards as the common thread throughout their job search, right?
Yeah.
So we build up like a buyer persona, and then we set up a 5-pronged go-to-market strategy. So, and we work with them on executing on this 5-pronged strategy. So one channel is network. So this is about thinking about, as it suggests, senior people in your network. But they don't necessarily have to be people that might be able to hire you. There might be people that might be a connector to people that might hire you, right? So just anybody who's in your ecosystem, who's well connected, got a good following, got a good black book. We write out that lot. We write out headhunters and recruiters. So the ones that you're in with in your space, the ones that you're not in with in your space, and we help advise and make introductions and engagements there. So they've got their headhunter and recruiter channel nailed down and they know who they're working with. We work on the Dream 20, which is what you spoke about, which is who are the 20 key clients that you want to get after. Job adverts and work in progress. So how are we going to influence each thing that you've already got in the mix to get an edge at each stage? And we've got all sorts of different playbooks. Like we've gone deep into this stuff around how you can stand out and push things along. And then the final thing, which is the best performing channel by a mile this year, which is LinkedIn and social, which is all about personal branding, building a content plan, and just amplifying your knowledge and your capability to the point that it attracts in your preferred audience.
Fun.
And that's our playbook. And then we've got loads of different tasks and techniques that sit in each one of those channels.
So this year with, COVID, et cetera, and the whole job market shift that we've seen, you did a post, I don't remember when it was exactly, but it had, and I made a note of it ages ago. It's Jabs, Jabs. And that's something that you've noticed in this, I suppose, in this circumstance we're in, that a lot of people have, which, in this instance is it like job acquisition or something, in terms of
that's
like
it. Yeah. It's job acquisition burnout syndrome. Yeah. So we've made that up, right? That's not a real,
no, of course, but I like it.
But people do get the jabs, and we talk a lot in our career jump community about people getting the jabs. And this is in essence that you try really, really hard to get a job, but that desperation's not particularly attractive. So you don't get selected. So you get knocked back. So your confidence gets hit. So you try even harder and you get more knockbacks, and you go on this downward spiral of your confidence and interview ability getting shattered, which gets you further and further away from the goal. And that's the jabs. So a lot of the time when we pick people up, they're somewhere on that downward spiral, sadly. Fine. And that spiral has been more steep than ever before this year, I guess.
Of course,
very easy for anybody
imagine.
to be struggling at the moment.
Yeah, no, definitely. So do you think now more than ever is a big thing, when you just touched on it before, I mentioned about, jabs, and, obviously something that you're a massive advocate of is social media presence is an absolute key thing. And obviously I know this because I've been trying to do my own branding and social presence the last 6 months, more so than ever. And it's worked, it has worked wonders, but, what's your take on it? Because you've just been in, your stuff is incredible.
I think it's the biggest opportunity that exists for business owners, job seekers, and anybody else right now. I genuinely believe that. And I think it's one of those weird things where the organic reach on LinkedIn at the moment is unbelievable. It can only be a certain amount of time until Microsoft who've now obviously bought it, start trying to monetize it in the same way as Facebook and other platforms have. Like the reach you can get. I mean, I've personally had about 11 million views on my posts so far this year in total. I use an analytics app called Shield, which spits this data. So 11 million views, right? And you think about how much would I have to pay in any other channel to get that kind of amount of eyeballs onto my content? It would cost you thousands and thousands and thousands. And it hasn't cost me anything other than time. I don't even have a premium license anymore, right? No recruiter license. It's a free personal branding tool. I just think I think it's an absolute game changer. And when I'm working with job seekers, I'm telling them, like, this is not about the next 10 weeks, right? This is about the next 10 years.
Yeah, of course.
Build a personal brand. It will help you win more work, hire more people, and generate more opportunities from a career-wise from yourself. So I just see it as the most important investment that anyone can make right now.
Definitely couldn't agree more. And just for those listening in, as well as the executive side, do you have a target market of people at other levels that are kind of new to their searches as well? Do you guys entertain kind of all applicants?
No, we're aimed at leaders in transition. Fine. But we've invested in a business called the Career Coaching Consultancy, which is which has got an early careers academy, and that's set up by a guy called Neil Ewington. And so he's a career coach who specializes in helping accelerate early careers. It's getting some fantastic traction as well. So that's what we've done on that side, rather than try and apply what we do. There's big differences. There's big differences in terms of what's required. So
definitely. No, I think for those listening in, if they're in need of any help and search wise, and want somewhere to go, then I noticed that there was another business that you worked with, so just kind of directing them, and
thanks for doing so.
Is what we want to definitely do.
How have you found the personal branding journey since you started it?
How I find it? Really difficult. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, it's sometimes, you can just kind of, there's days where I'm sitting there and I'm just stuck and I just don't actually put anything out at all because I just don't know what to put out and I overthink it, which I think is quite normal. And I'd rather not, there's days where I put stuff out and I delete it 10 minutes later because I just don't like it and I don't feel comfortable with it. So for me, my journey is still beginning and I'm just trying to get used to it and build the confidence. The podcasting aspect has just been as I mentioned, is a game changer for me. The putting these stories out there and these contacts and these networking is just what I love to do. But I think the content side of it and creating let's just say the right statuses to get right messages maybe across is quite tough. I know that Amelia does a lot of it, and she's just got, I don't know how her mind works, but it's phenomenal in terms of how she's just always got something out there that's relevant. And it's just, it really catches the eye of the market and industry as such, just like yourself. And I'll leave that to the experts, I suppose. But for me, I just think it's great fun. And I think the return is always there, no matter what. No matter what you think, there's a return on the time there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't spent a single penny on marketing. Right? Yeah. So we've managed to build a business which is going to be a year one big growth journey without spending a single penny on any marketing. We've done no SEO, no PPC, nothing. I've made a single outbound call or outreach email. Been entirely outbound, and we've helped hundreds of people, hundreds of paying clients. And Amelia, the same thing. I mean, we launched Klowt together.
Yeah.
She didn't have a website. So you think about how much time people spend worrying about what, she didn't even have a website. We just threw a manifesto up there. She launched, we ran a similar playbook, and within 5 weeks was oversubscribed and hiring people. And it's just like, there's so much opportunity on this platform if you can execute on it. Yeah. And even in the recruitment world, we got to the point whereby 30% of all of our exec search revenue came inbound as well.
Yeah. I think it's unbelievable. And I mean, do you think that would work? And might be a tough question to answer, like for a recruitment company to set up, if someone's sitting there thinking, I want to set up my own agency, if they worked on this in this kind of routine, if you like, of actually not spending any money and doing it on sort of, content and branding, do you think that they would be successful?
Yeah, I think it depends on markets, depends on a number of different factors, but certainly as part to augment what they would be doing anyway. So as a conduit to more sales conversations, I think you have to have some outreach in recruitment. Yep. I think you have to have some sales stuff going on in recruitment for sure.
Fine.
But I think I would have a dual strategy with content and traditional. But fine. Yeah, the longer term play is content. Becoming a go-to expert is your game if you're in recruitment. That's for sure.
Fine. Do you see any changes in 2021 with the way the market's gone? Anything that you've prepared for, if you don't mind sharing, or any sort of, I suppose, real changes that you can see happening to, the market?
Yeah, I think more and more people are going to go freelance. They're going to go portfolio career. I think more and more candidates, rather than doing traditional interim or permanent, are going to have multiple clients who access them for their strengths. And I think that's a really interesting trend, and one we're seeing more and more of with our own clients. I think recruitment is going to get more and more about being able to pick a winner. I think it's going to get more and more about assessment.
Yep.
So when you think about the fact that there's going to be a surplus of candidates for the first time in a long time in certain markets.
Yeah.
Therefore, the client need doesn't become about the sourcing element as much. It becomes about how we pick a winner, right? And so if I was running a recruitment business at the moment, I'd be trying to uncover the formula that looks at attitude, behaviors, technical skill, whatever it might be, that gives you an edge in terms of being able to demonstrate to clients how you pick a winner. The pick a winner strategy is going to be what clients are going to pay for, because it's no longer just our databases or our sourcing.
Fine. So any more final notes for people that are being made redundant at the moment? Any advice that you can provide to them to start off with their search, that without giving too much away, you know, if they don't come to you, maybe, is there something you would recommend?
Well, first of all, don't be afraid to reach out to people and make it clear that you're available, right? So many people, pride and ego gets in the way, and we have this thing called a flare post, where we encourage people to shoot up a flare and make it clear that you know, that they need help and that they've got some capacity, and just that simple move of demonstrating that to other people. We've had people hired from their flare posts, so make sure that you're not afraid to reach out. Park your pride, park the ego, give yourself a little bit of time as well. I think some people, I don't know whether you see this, but I think some people go out interviewing too soon, so they're just kind of like, I've just been made redundant, and panic. But it's like a grieving process, right? It's a difficult emotional thing to deal with. So if you go out and start interviewing before you're ready, it's like you're going out too quick. You've got to give yourself a little bit of time to get settled, get clarity, and then go and interview, so that you give a good account of yourself.
Definitely. I think one thing I've seen, if someone asked me to reflect back on this year from a recruitment perspective, is a lot of people panicked and, you know, or got put in a position where they were made redundant, and they just went straight interviewing, even the same day. And most of those people now have had to find other jobs, because not only were they probably the wrong one, didn't do enough research, wasn't prepared, and it was the only word I can use, it was a panic kind of, you know, circumstance that they put themselves in, and it doesn't do them any favors, doesn't do their CV any favors, it doesn't do their kind of mindset any favors either, because they're only going to work themselves down to the, you know, to more stress at some point along the line, right? So it doesn't help.
It's a rebound relationship. Like it's exactly like that, and we've seen the same thing too. So I think it's a really good tip, mate.
Amazing. Anything else to share, Andrew, at all? I know I've just sort of I've had some questions. I was just so curious to know a lot about yourself. So I've thrown loads of questions. Anything else you'd like to share or discuss at all that you want to get a point across to the market?
No, just I think it's a really good time to be checking in on each other, right? Yeah. Like when people say they're okay, they're not always okay. Dare I say, some of the blokes I'm friends with are particularly poor on this. You ask any of them how they're doing, I'm all right. You know, it's kind of the standard response. But if I could put something out to people, like whether they're in recruitment, whether they're candidates, whether they're just people in transition, it's like, keep an eye out for each other. Don't accept the first answer when people say that they're all right, because I really feel like a lot of the stuff that's happened this year has took a lot of a toll on everybody, and we need to be checking in a little bit more than we would normally. So 100%. That would be my final message.
Amazing. Do you know what? Like, that was a massive thing, and that's what as mentioned, I had a conversation with Katie, about all of this, and it was something we just touched on, just to make sure that we're constantly doing that, putting this message across there, which is so important. But Andrew, I really appreciate your time. I know you're extremely busy. Really, really great to meet you finally, and to have a conversation with you a little bit about. We'll find out as much as I can about your background. But I'll be sharing this out with anyone that's listening to this, and if they want to reach out to Andrew, then I'll put his contact details your way. Absolutely no problem at all. I'm sure he'll be open to any questions, and conversations that anyone would like to have with him. But Andrew, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, Elliot. Thanks for having me, mate.
We'll be in touch very soon, I'm sure.
Take care.
Take care now.